back in 1929, roughly right around there, this is before the huge crash, before we had the Great Depression. The percentage of Americans who owned stock in the stock market, I mean, they were part of Wall Street, the percentage of them was maybe 1%. 1% of the population was involved with the stock market, with Wall Street. And then the 29 crash hit. And that brought about what's known as the Great Depression, and that lasted for many, many years. And that was, they say not even, but 1% of Americans were involved with the stock market. Now, almost everybody is involved in the stock market. Almost everyone. It belongs to Wall Street. And how is that possible? Well, because people were forced into Wall Street. I mean, some were forced, some weren't. But they took the whole pensions away and came up with this thing that they ended up changing the name to the 401k plan. And then along with that, the individual retirement thing, IRA, that kind of deal. But 401k is the main focus because most people are involved with that through their employer and that kind of stuff as their pension, as their, retirement savings is how they're playing it. Well, what that was that came about to push everybody into the stock market. Because without that, there still was many, many, many people not involved in the stock market. And they couldn't have that because they didn't want another thing like that to happen. Because if everyone is involved, everyone cares. I mean, you may not, be daily active, you may not be monthly active, but people who get notifications, whether they're through the mail or the emails, that kind of stuff, they look at that. They look at, well, how much is my 401k at? How much value do I have? How much wealth do I have in my accounts? And whether it's high or low or whatever, if it starts to go down, they get concerned. They can't do much about it, but there's concern there, and then they start to be more involved. And that's what the whole goal, at least in my opinion, is getting everyone in it so they're part of it. Because if they're involved, if you're taking money from them, well, it's not your fault as much because they're involved with this. They belong to this because they did this out of their own, fruition. They wanted to be part of this. For what a reason. They wanted to be involved in the 401k stock market. And now, when this crash hits, and I believe it's going to be soon, and soon might be a couple, 5 years, it might be 2 years, it might be 6 years, it might be 10 years, it might be next year, who knows, it might be, a few months. But when this happens, people thought it was devastating, the Great Depression. This one's going to be so much worse for many, many reasons. But a big part of it is because everyone, for the most part, is involved in the stock market at this time. And that's going to be detrimental. It's going to destroy so much more than happened in 1929 in the Great Depression. This is just my feeling on it, my guess. What can you do about it? Well, you can start looking at options, I guess, and start getting educated on it and start seeing what's best for yourself and your family. Absolutely, I wouldn't wait on that at all. So that gets me thinking, gold and silver are in the Bible as the only things that should be recognized as money. Same with the Constitution. In the Constitution of the United States, gold and silver are the only things that should be recognized as money. It says it in there too. So, should be the only forms of money. And why is that? Well, because they have real value. Not just for barter, they have a real use value, real use case. And that's not saying other metals don't, but those are the ones that are recognized for monetary metals. So that got me thinking. I'm just going over some, thoughts. Um, people, not all, but a lot of people, most people don't have real assets. They get these digits, they get this fiat currency, and then they buy these disposable things, whether it's your daily coffee, your cigarettes, your drinks, your going out for your daily lunches, going out for your evening meals, whatever it is. I mean, you're renting all these things, you're leasing all these items, you're purchasing, I say that in quotes, movies, digital movies, renting, digital movies. You are renting or purchasing digital songs, digital albums from artists. You're purchasing these things, but you just own the digits for them. You really own nothing. And yes, that's just entertainment and that kind of stuff, but yeah, I know a lot of people say, well, that really doesn't matter, but even if you're going further with that, they're not purchasing items with real value. They're going to be purchasing, big items like widescreen TVs. Well, those every few years, people get new ones. They go out and they just sit, and watch them, and they sit there and get older and older and become worth less and less and less. That's the one example that flew in my head. But you don't see a lot of people out there, purchasing your gold, your silver, your tools, not just your mechanic tools, or not just your screwdrivers and that kind of stuff. I'm talking, heavy machinery kind of stuff. And if you don't have spot for that, that's fine. I'm not saying everyone needs that, but I'm just talking out loud. I'm just thinking. I'm just like stuff like that, skills, real skills, not your education, your K through 12, plus you continue your K through 12 with your universities. That's not what I'm talking. That's indoctrination for 12 years, and then you get more indoctrination afterwards. That's memorizing what you're told to memorize. That's doing things that you're told to do. That is learning how to become an amazing follower. That's what it is. Don't, think outside the box. Don't color outside the lines. Don't, look at things from a different angle. Just believe what you've been told. Believe what you've read. Believe what these people have done, and think there's no more. There's nothing else to it. That's what that educational system is. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about spending time going out there, meeting people, learning from people who've been there, done this, created their business, started their jobs, other jobs, given other people jobs. That's what I'm talking about. And not even on that. You can talk to someone who's built homes for a living, and maybe he dropped out when he was in 8th grade, 40 years ago. That kind of stuff. Those are real mentors you can learn from, who know whether they know the whole business end of it and set it out, or their partner does, or whatever. That's the real kind of stuff. That's the real kind of learning I'm talking about. Learning the skills of an electrician or of a plumber or that kind of stuff, of a farmer. Learn how it is to grow and how it is for crops, how it is for that machinery, that kind of stuff, how it is for animals, if it's a cattle farm or whatever. It's those real kind of essential, real, I guess you need those things. Those are survival skills that people should have. So that brought me to another thing. And I'm thinking, so once we're going digital, and then they have the ability to take everyone, wipe everyone out if they want, and continue on with their generational wealth, with their legacy wealth. No one thinks that way anymore, besides the few at the top, the puppet masters. And that's, everyone has, hundreds of years ago, there was always that thought. You need your chunk of land, you need your farm, you need to have a piece to give to your children, and then your children will figure out that they need to expand. They need to get legacy wealth. They need to get, generational wealth. And they need to carry on their name. They need to carry this on for the future generations that they're going to have. And no one thinks that anymore. It's all about here and now. I need this, I want this, and I don't care about the rest. I will send my kid to K through 12 public school. I will send them to university, whether I help them pay for it or not. I will send them there. I will make sure they get there, because then they'll be set. They'll learn from all these other people, and they'll be set. And that's the way people think, and that's not how it is. How people should be thinking is, I'm going to educate them myself. They can learn from me, and I will give them resources to learn the other stuff that I cannot teach them. I'll give them, get them in contact with other people that they can learn from in these other areas that I don't know that well. And then they can grow through there. And after that, once they're done with their K through 12 moments, that age group, I guess, whatever, if you want to have them stop at their 15, and get them on, and I'll get them in, lined up with somebody who knows businesses or knows other things that they're interested in, and expand them there. And then, if I was going to pay for their university, whether it's $100,000 or $200,000, let's just say $100,000. And I know it's way more than that, but I was going to give them $100,000 for their college, for their university, or whatever they were doing. And I'm not talking trade school here, because trade school is essential for certain trades. I'm talking just your liberal arts kind of university, psychology degree, now I kind of mumble jumble, but instead of paying $100,000 for your beyond K through 12 education, I'm going to put this $100,000, and we're going to talk to another person or a few people, and we're going to figure this out, and we're going to find a rental or two, or a home you can live in, and maybe rent out a room inside that home. Or we'll find a small business that needs help that you can maybe partner with. Or we'll spend this money this way to get you started on your direction, on your way to becoming and building your wealth yourself. And then maybe you're thinking, well, then I got this other land here, I got these extra funds, or I'm going to sell some of these things, I'm going to purchase some more land, because I'd like to give my son or my daughter, at least a 5-acre plot or a 10-acre or whatever, and leave that to them and let them build their home or build their whatever they want on there, their rental place or their studio or whatever, on there with some of that money maybe, and then they can go, because they have a foundation, they have a starting pad, whether they want to make that grow or not, or sell that to move on to the next thing they want to do. That's how people should be thinking. Instead of I'm dumping $100,000 on this education, that they might be flipping burgers for the rest of their life. And there's nothing wrong with flipping burgers. I'm just saying that's not what they wanted to do, but they feel like they're stuck doing that now. And that $100,000 is just, gone. It's meaningless. It means nothing except for, a few months or a year at some college where they just were, 13th grade or 14th grade or 15th grade teenagers for the most part. And I say it that way because it's not really college. It's just an extension of K through 12. But so I want people to think that. Because it feels like families are not thinking so much like that, and I think they need to. I know the Japanese do, and other societies do, at a small amount, larger, in other societies. But if people are thinking that, if they're thinking, okay, so I have these children or this child or whatever it is, or these grandchildren, I want to leave them wisdom, growth opportunities, a way they can learn survival skills or attain them, get them in contact with the local farmers or the local whatever. And then I want to try to get them land somehow, or get them interested, or give them a way to get started, to find some land, whether it's commercial property or it's just rural property or whatever. And then I want to educate them on the real things that the Bible and the Constitution say is real money, gold and silver. Maybe I don't know, or me and my spouse don't know, but I will have to learn myself. But we'll get in contact with someone to get them to learn that, because there's a reason that's in both those things, those huge things. And then maybe, not maybe, but I should teach them about firearms for hunting and that kind of stuff if it ever comes down to that. Or maybe they enjoy that, they want to do that, they want to learn. And then also protection, because if you're getting any sort of stuff built up, land, a home, or a family, you want to protect them and protect what you have. So then I'll have to teach them about firearms and ammunition, or get them set up with someone who knows that. And that's cheap. I can get them going. And then maybe, hopefully, we start a farm together, or they do, or they can bring that and carry that out forever, or it's rentals. If they want to start a whole rental system, they'll start with one single family home, and maybe, they'll expand that, and that's generational wealth, future generations think that, not just wealth as a wealth, what your pocketbook say you have, or that kind of stuff. Generational wealth of life, of experience, as living, as community, as family growing throughout generations. Because people that start out with nothing, not saying they don't make it, not saying they cannot become what they want to be. It's just so much harder. They start at a lower, further back starting position. And I think the thought is just generational wealth. Just think about this and get that instilled, and maybe provide or do what you can so then it continues. Because you know what? Everything you've accumulated or you want to accumulate throughout this life, you can't bring it with you. You cannot bring it with you. I know you've heard that over and over and over. You can't bring that with you. But what you can do is you can leave great things, no matter what they are, for your family, for your future generations, to help them, so then they can help other people and help future generations grow. Because the more your generational wealth and community grows, your whatever you leave here, the further along that can spread, and that whole community can grow, if you want to call it community. Future generations are around. If they're set with that, then they can help more people. They can help society better as a whole. So I think it's a whole retraining of the thought process of what's important, in this life, as far as that stuff, items go, and why you should be concerned with that, because you're not taking anything with you, but you can help your future generations. Anyways, that's all I had for you. You know what? I'll just say this too on this video. I was going to talk about this at a later date, but I'll just bring this up now. I know the only things that should be recognized as money is gold and silver. I talked about that, and that's what's in the Bible and the Constitution. But if there's anything else we're going to use, and they're going to digits, and we're using this fiat currency, and we have been for a long time, I say maybe if it comes down to it, just for whatever reason, maybe there's an opportunity. I'm going to grab these. Maybe there's an opportunity to say, hey, we're going to use, can I get this shown here? Ammunition. That's 308. This is a 7.62 by 3.9. This is a 223. We got, this is a 38 special. And then we have a 9mm, right? So I'm just showing all these. And there's 22s that are smaller than this, and 380s. And we're showing all these as a variety, because maybe in a crunch, this would work for barter and trade, versus all this paper and all these digits. I mean, people, can I get this here? Showing, if I come back, I don't know. People would probably say, I'd rather exchange with this ammunition, because ammunition has a real use case. I can hunt with that. I can protect my family with that. More so than just getting these imaginary digits, which I talked about in a prior video. But anyways, just a second thought I had before I close out. If you like this, everybody should subscribe. Thanks for watching. That's how we stated